one of the very last things, probably the last thing I do is write the lyrics. So to answer your question, I always start with a riff. I expand upon that riff until I have enough of the guitar part done. And then from there, then I'll start recording the bass. We usually do guitar, bass, drums, lead guitar, so like a guitar solo. And then by the end, we would probably put, we put the lyrics last. The lyrics, the vocals, and then backup harmonies. So honestly, for me, that is the hardest part. I feel like I could write a decent song in maybe like a day, but the lyrics are just so difficult for me. And I think, like we were sort of saying before, it's hard for me to not feel pretentious, but also to kind of give off the vibe of the song, to give off the correct lyrics that also evoke the emotion that I want to, and also to not just be too cheesy, but also be lyrically and vocally possible. For the last one I wrote, the song was really, because usually I write the lyrics, I write the music first, and then I'll have the whole track ready before I even start to work the vocal melodies and stuff. And it was written in such a key, in such a way, I was like, wow, it has such an Iron Maiden feel to it. So then I had to proceed to try and sing, Bruce Dickinson's Range, and I was like, oh man, I probably should have rethought this from the beginning. But
it sounded like Pantera's first album.
Right, so
what was that called? Was it like a cartoon cat with a sword on the front of it? What was that called?
Oh, Thundercats?
No,
could have been Thundercats.
It wasn't Thundercats. It looked like a Thundercat. Hold on, let me look up Pantera's first album. It was ridiculous. I'm gonna look it up right now. Hold on. It was absolutely.
I thought the guy was name was like Lion-O or something.
It's not. It looks like Lion-O. It was called Metal Magic. Pantera's first album is called Metal Magic, and it had this like cartoon. I don't even know what it is. Like half cat man with a sword on the front of it, and the singer was singing about Love Rocket, and like it was so bad, and I didn't listen to it by choice for almost 10 years. And then somebody said, just listen to it. And I did, just to get it out of my system. And I was right. It was absolutely terrible, so.
This is Pantera's first album?
Yeah, Pantera's first album.
I'm not even sure I was aware of that.
Metal Magic. Metal Magic.
Classics.
Yes.
Huh. Because I know I saw old footage of like Dimebag playing, and he was heavily influenced by Eddie Van Halen. So they kind of came to the dawn or the end of hair metal, kind of the end of that. Just like you see that influence in Guns N' Roses. You can kind of make like an argument there, like there's some aspects of hair metal, but they're kind of like too cool for it. All right, well, they're classic rock. That's how I feel about Van Halen, too. Like, people say, oh, no, they're hair metal. It's like, well, I feel people in hair metal are just trying to do what Van Halen did. So the reason hair metal is kind of lame is because, like, people are copying what another artist did before them. Much like the argument for post-grunge and grunge. It's like anytime you're, like, trying to build off of something that's already been created, it's like, already kind of like shooting yourself in the foot. It's like if I tried to reinvent the chocolate chip cookie and make it seem like it was one of my own creations, it's like, even if it's the best music in the world, if you're trying to wear that mask, I don't think that's the way to go, man.
Well, what? Funny enough, people want to copy everybody else and things like that. Historically, musically, Guns N' Roses went to see Jane's Addiction live. They went to see them live before they had the song Welcome to the Jungle, before that song existed. And that intro riff, they got by seeing Jane's Addiction live when Dave Navarro was screwing around with all those effects pedals.
Huh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
That's a real thing.
I'm a big Jane's Addiction fan. They're one of my top 10, so I'm interested to hear that fact.
Yeah.
How cool, man.
So it all ties
Jane's
together.
Addiction's another kind of... Right. Yeah, Jane's Addiction's kind of one of those interesting bands of the 90s, too, because oftentimes 90s is, rock is kind of characterized by grunge, which is like my favorite favorite genre. But I also really like 90s alternative rock. Like you're not going to pigeonhole like the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Faith No More and stuff as like grunge bands. They're more like alternative rock, and then I really like that term. But I would say the same thing about Jane's Addiction. They're not grunge, and they do have like that. I think they're from California, right?
Yeah,
they're from Cali, so I think they do have that California kind of feel to it.
I mean, such a weird guy, Perry Farrell.
Perry Farrell? Farrell?
Yeah, such a weird guy. The guy that runs on the beach barefoot on Thanksgiving type of guy. I mean, such a weird dude. I mean, he broke his band up at the height of their popularity, and then started Porno for Pyros, and then and that went nowhere, and then he kept doing other stuff. I mean, I don't know, man. I can't get inside of the mind of that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he is sort of notorious for being kind of tricky to work with. He seems like a real kind of eclectic kind of dude. Yeah, I could kind of get that, and I think especially when you have like that many drugs involved with all those guys, and you put guys that might even have a mental problems or something. It's just like, what do you expect? Put that many people in a room and then put them on drugs, and then put them in situations where maybe some are making more money. It's just the dumpster fire, man. So,
well, that was like the Chili Peppers. I mean, how many guys did they go through that were on drugs before they? Were a commercial success, Yeah,
I don't know how Anthony Kiedis still looks so good. He still looks like he's like 40 years old, man. And he's got like hair that belongs in like a L'Oreal commercial. He needs to do shampoo commercials. Like, I don't know.
Adrenochrome. He's taking adrenochrome, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. He's got some good genes, but... Yeah, he's another one of them. His book, I think he has a book I wanted to kind of read about. I think he had a rough life, so I would love to learn a little bit more about them. I was really into Californication. I liked that album a lot. Even some of their stuff into the early 2000s was quite good. But I think I kind of lost them at Stadium Arcadium. I think that's kind of where I stopped listening to them. They seem like now whatever they're up to is a little bit overproduced for my taste, as a lot of things kind of get, once you're working with a record label and then they have their producer in there and they say, no, you got to change this, you got to change that, you got to change that.
Yeah,
I think that's not an area.
I mean, that happens, in any band. Every band I've been in, you go into the studio, you sing the whole album, and now, let's do this here, let's do this here. It happens everywhere, and I mean, that's just the way it is when you have that many thumbs in the pie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. I think that's one of the good things sort of about my project. I mean, and this is the first time I've ever had, sort of the room to do this or been in this position to do this. But, yeah, and in prior bands, it was the same thing. All these songs that I've written are actually rejected songs from my last original band that I was in. I joined late, and it was with some older guys, and I don't know what it is. I'm not sure if they just didn't want to bother with the idea of having other songs or not. I think these songs fit perfectly for them as part of the deal of when I came into the band, and then we did a few of their songs. It was like supposed to do like, okay, we do one of yours, we do one of mine, kind of switch off. But then it seemed like we did like 2 or 3 of theirs, and then I was thinking, all right, well, how about we try this one? This one would work really well with this heavier biker crowd or something. And then they're like, yeah. So then that's where problems started to arise. But you're exactly right. Once you start moving too many people into too many cooks in the kitchen, that's where you start running around in circles and nothing gets done.
Right.
So I'm grateful to now kind of be in a position where it's like I have all the creative control to at least have the potential to realize, how I originally thought about these songs in my head. I can do them the way I want to. I can edit them until they're where I feel they're right.
I know. There is nothing worse than coming up with a song that you think is perfect the way it is, and now you got, what, 5 guys that want to change it to make it something completely different than what you originally came up with, right? You know?
And I think I'm kind of spoiled now because I've gone through this process of doing this where if I added people to do it creatively, I think I would have a lot of trouble doing that. I'd be like saying, this is how it is, man. I don't know. I don't know what you want to say, but this is how the song is, and if you want to be a part of it and perform it, great. But yeah, in terms of creative aspect, I think it would be hard to do that. I almost have to think of it as a separate thing. Like if somebody said, hey, I got the song, do you want to collaborate? I'd say, yeah, but I can't call it Alex Bracy music because it's the way I go about it.
Because then it wouldn't be Alex Bracy music then at that point. If they,
Right, exactly. It wouldn't be me. And then I have no problem working with other people and doing that. But for me, I think for this project, I think it needs to be that way, or I would just never feel good about it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't feel unless somebody 100% agreed with me on where it was, or somebody was working to continue. So maybe I was working with a producer or something that really aligned with the same bands and the attitude that I had toward music, and then and it worked. Then great. But in terms of like this project or something, you would have to be like, okay, I'll feature you as a vocalist on this verse or something like this. But yeah, in terms of cutting this song in half and adding this and this and that, it's like, I don't know, man. That's not what it is. So
let's add rototoms and wind chimes, Alex. Let's add those in.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's a level of artistic expression and creativity that I'm willing and happy to work with. Somebody might say like, well, maybe you add like something here, there, like that. I'm okay with, or make this part 2 times less. But yeah, and somebody says like, oh no, you need to remove this part and this part, and then I've had to do that. Fall Away was my second release, and I released it as it is, as it's meant to be, the CD release first time. And I think it's something like 7.5 minutes, which is not a pop song length. No,
that's that's like a Dream Theater type deal.
Right, and you think, oh, it's this long, epic thing, and even people kind of say like, oh, this is like an epic song. It's like, to me, it's just the way it is. I didn't sit down and say I'm going to write a 7.5 minute song, or I'm going to write an epic song. I wrote it, and I wrote it the way it was, and then once it was already done, all right, how long is this? 7.5 minutes? What? So I don't expect to do that. But with maybe 2 or 3 of these songs from the album, I've had to go back and really take out parts and parts of it to make it under 5 minutes, just so I can shop it a little bit more to general audiences that would maybe appreciate that time slot a little bit more.
People don't have the attention span. I mean, unless you're a long haul trucker, you're working midnight to 6 a.m. People don't have the attention span to listen to anything over 3 minutes at this point. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And what's interesting, and this is kind of what I found, is for the people that are not diehard fans, I think they generally would flock to that a little bit more. But then I always ask people that I think are like true passionate lovers of music, I say, listen to both of these and tell me which one you like better. And the people that really, really love music, that are really into it and generally aligned with a lot of the same influences that I have, almost always, if not have always, said they prefer the longer version, which makes me very happy. It's like people who, and that's what the long songs are there for, is to really appease these people that are true, listeners of artists and art. They would really like that. But somebody like somebody who likes Taylor Swift and stuff like that, I'm going to show you my music. They're not gonna sit through the 7 minute song because they're not going to get it.
Yeah.
It's like people who like movie. My favorite movie is Shawshank Redemption, and that movie, you watch it on TV, that's like all your days, like a 5-hour, 5-hour set.
Oh yeah.
But it's worth it to me.
It was on TBS
so
every day almost, because Ted Turner bought the rights to the movie.
Oh, okay. But then again, you take somebody who's not into that, who doesn't have the respect for something like that, they'll go in and they'll say, wow, this movie's way too long. and then go see an hour and a half movie, and then I can respect that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having that or